Hello to all tabletop wargame enthusiasts. Today we're going to tell you about the solo mode in the game Napoleonic. Steel and Magic. This game has two modes for solo play. One is the solo battle, where you fight with your units on a large hexagonal field. This mode is as close as possible to the regular game, player versus player. The second mode is more global. In it, there is a historical map of Europe. This mode is called the Solo Campaign, and today we'll take a closer look at it. So, to start, let me tell you about the components for the solo campaign. You will find all these components in a separate expansion to the base box. Also, you will need some components from the base box for the game. So, what do we have here? Well, most importantly, there is a historical map which clearly shows the territories and provinces of Europe. This is the campaign map. There will be several such maps. On this map, you will have the opportunity to play as the Emperor of France, Napoleon Bonaparte, against the invasions of the undead hordes. But you can also use the mighty English army to play the challenging solo campaign. Additionally, there will also be a campaign available where France specifically fights against England. The map itself is divided into provinces. Every single province has several specific game properties and designations. I will provide a thorough explanation of these in much greater detail during the gameplay. For example, this city specifically indicates the ownership of the province. This shows the presence or absence. These kinds of shields, enemy troops, in this case these are the legions of chaos. Difficulty. The difficulty of passing through this province. How many movement points you need to spend to enter this province. There are also special symbols. For example, this mine here indicates that there is additional income. These downward arrows. These are your additional reinforcements and bonus tokens that you will be able to receive when you successfully capture a particular province. So, in addition to the historical map, you will have a dedicated game board for solo play. On this board, there is an indicator of your treasury, how many coins you have. At the start of the game, we have 0. So, we will have to collect our funds. And also the pre-prepared decks. That is the event deck. Essentially, in this game, each of your turns or game rounds will consist of flipping through the various cards of your personal event deck. I'll explain these cards in more detail a bit later. For example, there will be action cards, green ones with an arrow like this, immediate event cards with a red exclamation mark, weather cards, invasion cards, and blight cards. So depending on which cards you draw, those are the events that will occur. There is also discard zone 1, discard zone 2, as well as near and far discard piles. We also call these the near future and the distant future. And the event deck contains cards that will go into your discard pile as the game progresses. The campaign itself will come to an end either when you finally capture province number 1, the specific place from where the blight spreads, where the ancient gates of chaos have opened, and from there, the massive undead armies march across the various provinces of Europe. This is the best outcome if you manage to capture this province. But the campaign will also be considered finished and failed if, during the campaign, your emperor is defeated or killed in any of the provinces. He has his own personal squad with a guard. Or if you do not manage to successfully capture this province, prior to the time that the end of campaign card is eventually drawn out from the deck. In other words, the campaign is programmed for a certain number of rounds. This specific card is then shuffled into the very last 5 cards of the deck. So here is a part of this deck. It will remain active and in effect until the game is completely finished. There are also several additional event cards available that you can purchase and upgrade. The game features a specialized system for upgrading your cards. For example, the movement card is called Army on the March. There are 2nd level and 3rd level versions. You can see this by the crowns at the top of the card. If there is only 1 crown, this card cannot be upgraded. If there are 2 or 3, then you can upgrade it. You can buy a card with the 1st crown and replace it with a level 2 or level 3 card. It is important to understand that only green cards can be upgraded, which specifically means cards representing beneficial and favorable events that occur, such as the field, hospital, or construction. Here we have the negative event cards. These appear according to various specific triggers, and their numbering includes a detailed reference. We will explain this in much more detail later on. In addition, for the solo campaign, you will also need to include militia and bandit cards. These are unique and specialized types of military units that will join your army as you successfully capture and occupy new provinces. Or they act against you, like these bandits. These are either deserters who have run in or some kind of raiders. From the base box, you'll need the reinforcement board, where your units go when you take losses. To begin your game, you will first need to make sure to have your army and unit cards ready. It is also important to note that for solo mode, you must choose the side specifically intended for solo play. All unit cards are double-sided. On the side for player versus player mode, an order is indicated. A star means any order from the top part of the card. There are cards with color markings. That is, this is an order that allows you to activate this squad. For solo play, you use the side where the top part of the card shows a hat like this. In this section, there are special abilities that are utilized during solo battles. Additionally, you will find the dice mechanics, which you use during quick battles in solo mode. These elements are clearly outlined with square frames like this. The most significant difference you will notice in the solo campaign is that as your army and your emperor steadily advance across the entirety of the historical map, you will encounter and engage in several challenging battles, and you can play out these battles in the convenient quick battle mode, which is faster and highly dynamic. You also have the option to play a full-scale battle on the expansive hexagonal field, but that will require more of your time. And at the very end, when you finally reach the gates themselves, yes, that's exactly where you'll be awaited by your enemies. The largest undead army awaits you, and accordingly, this battle is played according to the campaign rules on the large map, where you deploy the units that have survived and those you have recruited. That is, initially, according to the campaign conditions, we have 2 units of line infantry, fusiliers, the most basic ones, and the Imperial Guard led by Napoleon. Obviously, these forces will not be enough to capture all the provinces, so we will have to purchase and receive reinforcements during the game. There are also these kinds of upgrade cards. Here you can find artifacts, encountered buildings such as a hospital or an officer academy, and you can freely purchase them. These cards are also used in tournament mode when player versus player battles take place over several rounds. These options are also available in the single-player solo campaign. Furthermore, detachment cards act as command cards, where you can additionally recruit a musician, a standard bearer, or an officer into your squads. That is to say, each individual squad can additionally have one of these detachments. But you need to make sure that the detachment you choose is suitable and appropriate. For example, for your infantry units, we can attach a standard bearer or an officer. Only 1 detachment per squad. There are also regular markers. Here are tokens for forts, star-shaped fortresses. They are double-sided, meaning one side is an intact fort and the other is a damaged one. We'll also talk more about it during the gameplay itself. Now we are ready to get started with the campaign itself. A few words about the initial conditions. In the campaign book you'll find the data, the cards themselves, and the initial conditions, which include how you deployed your units and the treasury. 0, and also maps. Such a deck will have about 100 cards. You will need to arrange the necessary cards into decks in these cells. This is where you will lay out your cards during the game. Here you place your earned tokens or cards, which you will later be able to purchase or exchange. There's also a separate slot for weather. Well then, let's get started with the beginning of the game. We are starting our first round. To do this, we take 3 event cards. We are required to fill these 3 slots before taking an action of our choice. The row is filled. Now we can choose one of the actions, select one of the cards, and play it. Let me first tell you a little about the anatomy of a card. All cards have a card symbol in the upper right corner. In this case, it's a green arrow, which means it's an action card that you can play at your discretion. Next, you are presented with a choice, several options which are marked with letters. A, B, C, D. For example, on this card, there are a variety of different choices available to you, and some of them may have additional options, like this card, which specifically states that if you choose C and you have a hospital, you also receive additional reinforcements. So our first card is Tax Collection. At the start of the game, our treasury is empty, so we really need funds. If we choose A, we simply get 10 coins, and the card goes to the nearby discard pile. Or we can declare choice B. And then we will have to roll the die. On a roll of 1 to 5, we will get 15 coins. But if we roll a 6, this card will bring no income and will be sent to the far discard pile. So we will use it. Here's a die from Signum Games, where the 6 is marked with a dragon. We roll the die. A 3 comes up. We're lucky. Excellent. We got 15 coins. Now the card should go to the nearby discard pile, since we were lucky. How can you tell where the card should go? Here, there is an arrow. 1 arrow means the first discard pile. 2 arrows mean the second discard pile. Also, these little clocks, either upside down or upright, also indicate where the card should go. So the card goes exactly like this. We must automatically fill the empty slot and then make the next strategic choice. For moving around the map, we have this wonderful, detailed miniature of Napoleon, who represents our entire army on the field. Here is our first province. It is completely under our control. Well, we also have this unique fortress icon, known as the Star Fort, which clearly marks our grand capital, the specific starting point from which we begin our entire campaign. So let's make the next choice. Let's imagine that we want to play this card. So this card gives us a choice and allows us to purchase an additional building. But since we really need more resources to build up our army, we can definitely make a different choice. Option B indicates that you can get, completely free of any cost, a total of 3 skilled militiamen. That is, we take this card, here it shows 3 units, each unit consisting of 3 militiamen. This is the most lightly equipped militia unit available. They utilize and roll with the green die. So if we choose option B, we add them to our side, to our army zone, and we place 3 markers. Since we chose option B, you see these arrows and the icon here. The card goes into the distant discard pile. This means the card comes back to us after a cycle. Now we reveal the next one. So, the next card we have here is titled Bread or Gunpowder. This card provides us with a significant bonus for each province in terms of our total money or militia, but we only have 1 province. Perhaps it is finally the right time for us to make our very first move in this game, which essentially means starting our first major conquest. So, for that, we'll play the army on the march card. Cards for moving the dick. There is only 1 such card, and you cannot have more than 1 unique card. That is, you cannot have 2 army on the march cards. So when you buy a second or say a third card, you just swap this card, remove it, and shuffle it back into the deck. Accordingly, we need to understand that if we, for example, discard this card to receive reinforcements, then we won't be able to move this round. But we want to move. So how does movement work in the solo campaign? So for movement, you need to look at your territory and decide where you want to move your army. Here, the difficulty is shown right next to the boot, the movement difficulty. Here, it's 2. This card allows you to move 1 boot for free, and for each additional boot, you pay 3 coins. We have coins, but we are not required to pay. Why? Because there are these kinds of roads here, which indicate that when moving into this province or from this province to a neighboring one, you can use the roads and only have a movement difficulty of 1. So instead of 2, the movement difficulty into this province is 1. For example, into this one as well, it's also 1. So let's use the road. The card goes into the first discard pile. We use it to move here. We automatically capture the province. We mark it with this marker, and we also take a bonus token. The bonus token indicates that we receive 5 coins. We can use this bonus at any point during the game. That is, we can either keep these 5 coins or take them right away. There's no point in saving them for later. Let's take them right away. And now we have 20 coins. Excellent. Next, we go through the deck. Now we have a card for recruiting detachments, our military units. I would personally prefer to first gather tax revenue from our new provinces, specifically from one new province and the original territory we already own. So with this card we can get 2 coins for each province. Yes, we have fewer provinces, but 4 coins is still not bad. So we played the tax card, we send it right here, that's exactly right. And now we reveal the next card. Yes, I really wanted to draw your attention to the important fact that in this campaign and in this specific game, any actions available to you are performed using the deck. That is, this includes hiring troops, declaring battles, upgrading your deck, or obtaining detachments. So everything here is tied to the deck, which is quite simple and convenient. And depending on the specific goals you set, you can enhance and upgrade your current deck with new cards and receive your reinforcements at a much faster rate. Building structures is a very flexible strategic mechanism for the whole game. So we've drawn a unit recruitment card, and we currently have 24 coins to use. Unfortunately, with that specific amount of money, we can't hire very many people at all. Our options for what we can recruit are actually quite limited right now. It would be nice to have a bit more fun, so let us take a look at what else we have. We have certain cards available that, for example, will enable us to effectively collect 2 coins and collect another 2 coins, and the troop recruitment will give us 5 coins or 2 coins. Well then, we'll have to use this card to generate income, won't we? We discard it and receive 5 coins. Unfortunately, in the first round, we won't be able to recruit an additional unit with it. So, we reveal the last card from the event deck for this round. The deck is now empty. Next, we can play one more card, any card, but when we have nothing left to fill this converging slot, it is considered finished and the remaining 2 cards will be discarded. That's why it's important for us to make the right choice. We have drawn a hospital card, but since we have no losses, we can discard this card. As well, we received some additional coins. So we have 29 plus 5, which makes 34 coins. Let's mark that and collect the money. This is kind of a reserve for the future. These 2 cards are sent away immediately. Following this final discard, our first round concludes, and we now start preparing for the second round. At this point in the game, we could have potentially received reinforcements if we had any damaged units. That is to say, for example, if we are missing some units here because we have suffered losses. We must check the total number of these arrows on our territories. We have 4 arrows present, and we can move our units accordingly based on the number of arrows shown. So 1, 2. The 3rd and 4th will also be replenished. In other words, if we had suffered losses, we could replenish our units. But we are going to skip over this step, since there is no passive income here. So, we will proceed to prepare for the next round. To do this, we shuffle the cards from the first discard pile, just like this. We shuffle them and place them back into the deck. Event cards. Now, looking at the second discard pile, specifically from the far pile, the cards that ended up there are also sent to the near pile. We shuffle these as well, and they will be dealt back to us at the end of the next round. But it is just 1 card. We put it into the far discard pile. It is such a simple setup, and now we begin our second round.